Hey YouTube, the John Vanderveer here. I'm here to discuss three things. Two are theories of compatibility between science and the Christian or Judeo-Christian religion, belief system, faith, whatever you want to call it. And the other is a common misconception that atheists, etc., basically anti-Christians, use to argue non-compatibility of science and Christianity. If y'all want a biblical reference, this will all be in Genesis 1. Alright, so check it out. I have two theories. One is called the paintbrush theory, one is called the play button theory. I think these ideas have been around, but I've essentially synthesized these and named them. At very least, I've named them. If someone else has made them, I'm not sure, but I'm not aware of anyone else having made these. Alright, so first let's address the misconception. This misconception occurs in Genesis 1. They talk about a non-compatibility between the fact that God created heavens and the earth, etc., basically everything within 6 days, and then he took a day of rest. And they say, oh, we have science that shows it's been billions of years. Alright, here's the problem. It's lost in translation. This is not referencing a literal 7 or 6 24-hour periods. The Hebrew word for day does not reference a 24-hour period. It references a cycle from night to day, darkness to light. So whenever there's no stars being created yet, you can imagine that a cycle from darkness to light may take billions of years. Essentially, it would take until any stars were created for the first cycle to occur, and then it would depend on the location of the planet relative to any stars. And y'all astronomy people know about how things circle, but if the stars had just been created, plausibly the Big Bang would have just been created, and so it might not even be orbiting yet for another billions of years. Alright, so and then people talk about later in the Bible, it says, to God a day is like 1,000 years, and people say, oh, well, so they must have been talking about 6,000 years. No, this is not a literal thing. This is just demonstrating for people that time doesn't matter to God. A day is 1,000 years. A day is 5 million years. A day is 10 seconds. God can do whatever he wants with time. That's the point of that scripture. So it's not talking about 6,000 years either. It's talking about time is insignificant to God in the creation story. But it's also, even the word day is not referencing a 24-hour period there. Alright, so now let's talk about my play button theory. Scientists say, look, the stars took millions of years just to get the light from the star to come here. My reaction to that is, have you ever seen somebody that created jeans to look used? Have you ever seen an antique store where they sell genuine antiques, and next to that they sell non-antique furniture, which is made to look antique? It's made to look old. In other words, people can create things to look old. If people can, why could God not? Perhaps it is a movie in which God did not start us at the beginning. He started us halfway through. So perhaps he already created the situation to look as it is, and he hit the play button, as it were, at this essential point in time, so that the beginning is not really the perceivable or intuitional beginning of time is not really the beginning of time. It is, in fact, if you create a mathematical model and trace it back to the origin of the universe, that may be the beginning. But according to God, perhaps he hit the play button halfway through the movie. Do you see what I'm saying? And he made it look old. Maybe the fossil record occurred not because things evolved and died and fossils came about, but perhaps God created the earth with fossils in place to make it plausible that the earth were so old. And why would he have done this? We can only guess. Who can know the will of God? But perhaps it was to create a test of faith. If so, it seems to have worked very well. But really, the essential nature of God is mysterious. We can know certain things about him due to his word and what he's told us about him, but the whole nature of God is mysterious, as it says in the Bible. Okay, so anyway, theory 2 is called the paintbrush theory, and this is because instead of hitting the play button halfway through, he's going with it. This would be quite the opposite of deism, which asserts that God is a clockmaker. He made the universe and did not intervene. This one says that God is constantly intervening and his will is constantly everywhere to be found, which is much incompatibility. So it is with compatibility. Don't allow me to misspeak. It is with compatibility Christian scriptures that God is forever active in our day-to-day lives. So, according to this theory, evolution did occur, the Big Bang did occur, the laws of physics, etc., are merely a manifestation of the will of God. This is not to be confused with naturalism or anything of that sort, or any sort of paganism which asserts that God is equal to nature. This is only saying that nature is a subset of the will of God, and so the law of physics, laws of gravity, quantum mechanics, etc., are all the way energy behaves, are all manifestations of God's will. And he did this presumably with the intent to create humans and to create, a relationship with humans. And so, if this seems plausible if we look at it in the light of science, believe it or not, because scientists say objectively, according to statistics, the likelihood that we should exist is essentially zero. It's absolutely outlandish. It's like a bajillion, 10 to the negative bajillion power times something that we should even be here. It's such a random coincidence. They just say we're lucky that nature played out this way. And they say, or it could be more plausible if we didn't play out this way, some aliens played out this way, and they came over here and intentionally created us. But that's essentially a form of creationism, so it's just redundant logic. Then where did the aliens come from in that case, And so atheists, keep in mind that the theistic null hypothesis is that God does exist, and the burden of proof is that you must prove that God does not exist. And theists, keep in mind that the atheist perspective is the null hypothesis is that God does not exist, and we must prove he exists. You can see another video of mine where I show that you can't prove either way, which is why things like agnosticism exist, because the truth value is completely unknown. Anyway, so let's just presume that there is a God with the intention of creating humankind, and he can bend all nature to his will. You see the chance that we exist increases suddenly to 100%. So that's some thoughts to consider. Take care, YouTube.